Well, it's Tuesday. Every other Tuesday, I get the chance to go down to the middle school and the high school and help put on a thing called Fellowship of Christian Athletes, FCA. If you've never heard of it, there'll be a link down in the description about what FCA is. Great ministry, place where students during their lunchtime can come and have what's called an FCA huddle. And we get a chance to talk about Jesus, we talk about athletics, we talk about how we can be leaders in our schools and inside of our sports teams. But today's episode, the thing that I wanted to talk about this week is outreach. Why is outreach at schools so difficult? Now, the easy answer is the fact it's difficult because the school maybe won't let you onto the campus, the whole church and state stuff. But actually, the truth is, in my time in ministry, schools are actually pretty willing to let you onto campus if you're doing something for the school. I've coached different sporting events. I've been a part of senior projects. I've done things on campus for different clubs and groups that are all about community development. And the school districts actually really appreciate volunteers like that. In fact, next week I'm going to be helping to put on a bullying seminar inside of our community. It's called Challenge Day, and I'll bring you along with us with that as well. But why is it so difficult for us to have a connection at schools where the students who are there actually, I guess, enjoy being there, but also are going to be willing to invite their friends to it? I've put on Bible studies and done some stuff after school and before school, and it's never really seemed to ever take off. And maybe you've had a better experience than I have, but I feel like I'm always kind of in this struggle of why is outreach so hard and difficult. In this week's episode, we're going to interview a guy named Derek, and Derek is going to talk to you guys about why he views outreach is difficult and why maybe at schools this outreach is specifically difficult. We'll talk about what it means to maybe take some risks in terms of not every time you're going to have this golden bullet. That's one of the things I think I've learned the most in ministry is there's no perfect outreach. There's no perfect ministry where you're just going to see millions of kids coming through the door. And if there is, and if you have that, man, please hit us up and let us know what that is, because I'd love to know what that thing is that we could all be doing that would better serve our ministries and serve our communities for Christ. Junior high FCA went great. We had a great group of kids there, really a committed group. They just are just good kids, great group of 8th graders that are there. Talked about the idea of team and why team is important and why team is something that we need to be striving to be a part of. Connie brought the message. See, the cool thing about our community is they actually allow us to even teach while we're there. I know a lot of schools don't allow that, but I as a youth pastor can come in and actually share a message about Jesus, even if it's only a 10 to 12 minute little message that we can share. At least we're getting some amount of Jesus on the campus. But one thing I said this episode we're talking about is the difficulty. There's a lot of difficulty of just trying to get students there. I sent out some text messages this morning just to kind of let students know that we will be meeting today. But we'll see who shows up. I won't take my camera into the high school just because of it's kind of a lot of kids that are there and walking around. I don't want to show any faces, obviously. So we'll see you afterwards. Bye. My buddy Derek's going to continue the conversation now. We're going to talk about just what the difficulties that happen inside of on-campus evangelism. He's going to end the video here with us. So hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
My name is Derek Hickey, youth pastor. Well, I think, the outreach on the campus is something that should be an extension of our youth ministry, really. It's an opportunity to engage with the students that we see on a regular basis at church, at youth group, and just to take that as an opportunity to invest in their lives more. In our case with FCA, it shows a united front that there's no competition in between churches, and really doing what all churches should be doing. Obviously, doctrinal beliefs can be different, but the fact that we want to reach out and engage people, with Christ and try to get them to really realize what the gospel can do for them, I think that goes a long way in being able to show that united front. Coming on campus, the kids see us. It's a way to engage with them. The FCA here is a little bit different than me and you have talked about before in previous places we've been. We have some leeway within our community with that, to where we're able to come in and kind of lead, which was something that was kind of eye-opening for me. I wasn't expecting that from past experiences. So it's a very good thing, but at the same time, I feel like it can kind of hinder us a little bit, because we don't have those students that are stepping up and leading the pack. And so the overall view of it, I think it's a very needed thing. We're called to go out and share the gospel with people. We want to build disciples. We want to engage ourselves in these kids' lives and really show them that we care. And it's not just when you're at our church. We care about your academics. We care about your sports. And just really being present and showing these teachers that, hey, we want to be a part of this community. And we're here if you need help with anything. And so I think relationally, it helps to engage with the students and to kind of build that inner communication channel with the teachers and within the community itself. For us, overall, the first struggle is normally a foot in the door, getting to a fact to where you're welcomed. And how welcomed you are. And within our community, I think we're very blessed. We have kind of a lot of leeway in being able to walk on campus and engage with the students in the way we do. But with that, there are the struggles of the middle school tends to blossom with the FCA. We see fluctuation in numbers. And not that numbers is the main thing, but we live in a results-orientated society, and a lot of people want to focus on those numbers. But just the group itself and the successfulness of it at the middle school is good. And then when you look at the high school, I think a lot of the big problems that we run into is just like we talked about earlier, is just we're competing with something. We're always competing with something. High schoolers are at a point in their life to where their reputation with their friends, their social circles is something that they hold very high. It's very valuable to them. So, coming in and doing FCA twice a month, even though it is only twice a month, it's during their lunch hour. So that alone is going to prevent some problems. They want to be with their friends. They want to talk about their day. They want to talk about what they're going to do after school. I think we can both agree we have students in our youth group that excel at evangelism. They're listening when we're talking about spreading the gospel at youth group. They're ready to go out and jump at the challenges of whatever comes at them and talk to their friends about Jesus, invite them to youth group or to FCA. And but you even see it with those kids that kind of have the mentality that they're not ashamed of the gospel, that there's certain things that can kind of beat them back too, and there's times where they stumble and they don't know what to say. And, and I think that's, it's not fair to kind of pick on the students in that manner, because I think even as adults, we find ourselves in situations sometimes that are kind of overwhelming. And maybe if we don't have an answer readily available to somebody who's inquiring or attacking, because I think that's the biggest thing in society. There's no open dialogue about Christ. It's just an attack. You're a Christian. They have these preconceived notions about what you believe or how you're going to act towards them, so they come out and attack. And I think that's probably the biggest hurdle that these kids that are willing to evangelize on campus face. They realize they're going to be attacked because these people have these preconceived notions about what they believe or how they're going to treat people. And I think it falls on all Christians and these students in these situations to kind of change that narrative. Make it clear that, hey, I don't agree maybe with your lifestyle. I don't agree with some of the things you're doing. But at the end of the day, we're both sinners. I've just kind of admitted that, and I'm working at becoming better. And I'm not here to judge you. I'm just here to tell you about Jesus and how he can help you. And so you see those kids get beat back. And I think it's important, for us as youth pastors or youth leaders to come alongside those kids when you know that a kid is on fire and that they're sharing the gospel, and then you hear about the defeats. You got to be there to kind of pick them up and encourage them. And we've talked about this, there was times last year on our high school campus here in town where we would leave and we would look at each other and we'd kind of say, what are we doing here? You know, is this really worth it? Are we getting fruit? I mean, there was a lot of times where we'd meet in the classrooms and there'd be nobody there. It'd be me, you, and the teacher having a conversation, which is good. You know, I mean, there was always high fives in the hallways with kids and conversations of trying to get them to come in, but it was really deflating. And you know, we kind of got to a point last year where we had to stop and say, all right, well, how can we kind of remove ourselves from this situation and look at it and say, what can we do to make this better, to actually achieve fruit, to be a presence that is achieving this evangelism instead of something that's just going through the motions to say, hey, we're here. And so that was a big hurdle that we had to get over last year. And this year, I'd love to say that you know, we put our heads together and we conquered that, but that's not the case. I don't think we've had any meetings at the high school this year where we've had no kids. I think we've had at least 1 or 2 kids, which is something. And I think in those times, it can be extremely deflating too. But the one thing that I've kind of come and really been thinking about lately is, you know, I said earlier that it's not about the numbers. And I think you'd agree with me. If you got 50 kids in your youth group or you've got 10 kids in your youth group, you're going to prepare the same way. You're going to try to instill the same thing into those 10 kids that you would those 50 kids. So that's kind of my mentality, is to not try to get caught up in how many kids we have. Would I love to see tons of kids being reached through the FCA platform that we're able to use on campus? Yes, obviously that's, you know, that's the goal of any Christian. You want more people to be impacted by the gospel. But if we only get 2 kids, I think we have to kind of, instead of being discouraged, we have to be kind of encouraged that, okay, we can take the opportunity to really, you know, invest into these 2 kids' lives. And a lot of the times the 2 or 3 kids that are coming are the kids that are on fire and are probably sharing the gospel, you know, on campus. So that's kind of an opportunity for them to kind of recharge their batteries. And because it gets tough. I mean, we've talked about it. You know, you walk in and you've got, you know, Subway sandwiches to feed 15 kids, and you're leaving with Subway sandwiches because you only fed 2 kids. So I think it's just making sure that you're seizing the opportunities for the students that are there, and that's probably a way to maybe just come a little more, get to know them a little bit better. So, but.